All right, it looks like we are live now. This is Michael on Channel X with the Graveyard Shift podcast. This week we have a couple of guests with us. You might remember ItSeesYou, or you can call him Raz. He was on the first podcast. How are you doing, Raz?
Infected but alive, sir.
I guess the first part isn't so great, but the second half of that was pretty good. Okay.
But if I had a sign, it would say dead inside.
Oh, nice.
You know.
And we have a first-time guest this week who was actually in the live chat last week. This is Mr. SH, or you can call him by his real name, Scott. He is from Ireland. How are you doing, Scott?
Good. I'm very good.
What we're doing this week, as usual with the live stream, we're doing like just kind of a relaxed hangout type thing. But I got this idea because Raz here told me about something he has or had going on. We'll let him explain it in a minute. But because of that, it gave me the idea to do this particular topic. I want to see how the Reddit, YouTube, writer, narrator, horror community is doing with the whole lockdown thing, with the virus and all that. And I guess we could start off by just asking Raz, hey, Raz, what's going on? What did you tell me that gave me this idea?
Well, you invited me to be on the last episode, and I was all gung-ho about it, and then I got that diagnosis that they call it corona confirmed in Ohio. There's two different versions of having corona. There's if you're elderly, a medical worker, or immunocompromised, you actually get the test for confirmation. Yeah. But if you have all the symptoms and they give you all the medications that give those people and you react positively, you're just considered like visually confirmed, basically.
Okay.
So, because there's no tests, no one has tests. And if your state does have a test, it's literally only for healthcare, elderly, immunocompromised. That's it.
Right.
No one else gets anything. And I found that out like a couple days before I was supposed to be on your last podcast. And, I'd been feeling really sick for a little while, coughing a lot. And then like it just suddenly felt like the worst flu I had ever had in my life. And wow. I went in and they told me that. And, for like the last week, I've been struggling between like sleeping like 18 hours a day, which I generally sleep like 4 or 5 a day. So that's been weird. Weird eating schedules, just weird, a lot of symptoms all across the board. And then I went to the hospital this past Friday and found out that I was skipping over the pneumonia part, which sounded fantastic at first until they told me I was neurologically compromised, which is the next stage for the unlucky folks that don't just get better from the flu/pneumonia parts. So that's been fun to not understand entirely. The doc, seriously, you're at the hospital and you ask, what does that mean? Their exact words were, I don't know, but we're going to load you up with pain meds and all this stuff so you can go home and be comfortable. And no one wants to hear the words "go home and be comfortable" from a doctor.
Yeah, that's at least on the TV shows you watch. That's never a good sign.
Yeah, so that was terrifying. Honestly, I've been homeless. I've gone through crazy shit in my life. I've never been actually scared.
Yeah,
this is the first time in my life that I'm actually having to adjust my world around the fact that I'm scared to death now. Like what? I don't know what anything means. But the worst part is the hospital. If you can avoid there at all, do it at all costs. I went in there and, at first you hear a couple people crying. You expect people to be upset, people be concerned. And then they put me in a sealed room because where I went has like all the rooms are like individual sealed rooms. And then you hear everyone's crying regardless of your sealed room. And it's so loud because it's everyone in the rooms up and down all the halls. It's the staff members. And it gets to the point where all the crying and the screaming is so loud and so layered that it is one wail is what it becomes. And I can tell you that out of every book I've ever read, horror movie I've ever seen, real life experience, that is what terrified me. That's what got me scared. That sound.
Basically that you're right in the middle of hearing noises from everybody else that you believe are there for the same or similar reasons. You may not be making those noises yet, but you think, is this me? Is this what I have to look forward to? Is this going to happen to me? Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly. That's exactly what you're thinking because, I'd already seen 2 people in body bags wheeled away from that hospital. One as I was getting there and one about 3/4 of the way into being there.
Wow.
So this is happening. It's going on around you. You're just told, you're neurologically compromised and we have to run these tests now. And you're thinking, well, I don't feel like I'm dying. I mean, even right now, I physically, I'm actually starting to feel a lot better. Mentally, that's another issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just don't know. And you're not allowed, no one's allowed to enter the hospital with you. Like my wife, we've only been married for less than a month now. She had to drop me off at the front doors and drive away and leave me there.
Wow.
So she's at home terrified. I'm trying to text her and update my friends on the right Discord and, tell them what's going on over there and just kind of keep everybody updated. Because of course, all my friends are freaking out. I'm freaking out. That's the only contact I have with the world is that phone. And I'm not even a phone guy. I can do the laptop fine, but yeah, I got big thumbs, man.
I kind of don't like the phone just because whenever I answer it, I know I'm going to be stuck on the phone listening to someone talk for a half hour. So I prefer text or other things just to get around
everybody. I was like, I'm going to the hospital. Do not call me. You can text me. You can DM me, whatever. Just don't call because I'm not going to answer you. And I was in that phase for the whole last week. No phone calls really until like the last day or two. I finally started like taking phone calls.
Your wife had to drop you off and leave. Is that just hospital rules right now to keep them, say your wife away from catching it?
Yeah. Even if you are pregnant going to the hospital, you can't have anyone with you. You are just giving birth alone. It's any reason you go to the hospital, and it's all across America. I don't know how much in other countries it is, but I know in America, you go to the hospital by yourself. That's it. That's new mandate laws here.
Well, that kind of sucks because the only hospital stay that I remember, I think I might have been in one when I was a kid, but I don't really remember it. But a few years ago, I had to have a surgery to have some benign thing like massive tissue removed from the side of my neck. Number one, it was painful because I was nauseous. I was there for almost an entire week. And because of whatever they did and whatever they were giving me, I was nauseous the whole time. So I felt terrible. But being there by myself most of the time when nobody was there visiting was like the loneliest, most depressing thing I've ever experienced. And I had an ex-girlfriend who drove me up there, who would come up there once a day to visit me. And that was like the only thing that made me feel like not dying at the time. Right. So I can imagine how bad it is. You're not even allowed to have a visitor.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why technology is, as much as I like to tell everybody I still live in the 90s, because I do in a lot of ways, technology, and what it can do now is one thing that I'm happy that I have, because if not for that phone, man, I don't know what I'd have done. I mean, just that between the wailing and the news from the doctor and just sitting there, I don't think I would have survived it, like mentally. I don't think I could have gone through that without being able to tell someone what was going on, because in a way I was able to take control of my anxiety by ignoring what I was dealing with and just like reporting what I was dealing with from like almost from an outside perspective. So you're forced to not really think about what you're doing. You're just explaining it to other people. And it kind of helps you put yourself, outside of your own head in order to cope with those things, at least until you get home. You get home, you got your support, everything's there. But until you get there, you got to find a way to trick your brain to not completely lose it.
There's no safe thinking anymore, seeing as how as far as I know, the U.S., we've eclipsed the other top number of case countries. I don't know how you'd say that, countries with the most cases. Yeah. So it's not so realistic anymore for me to sit here and think, hey, I'll definitely not get it because, it's hitting all these other countries harder. It's not. It's hitting us harder now. So
here's my question for you. Did you get sick at all during the winter?
During the winter? I don't know. Here's a funny side thing. And I know this wouldn't be a cure for the virus or anything, but for the past several years, I think I actually I could be wrong. It only lasted a couple days, but I think I got that last one, that H1N1. Yeah. Like, I don't know, 9-10 years ago, whenever that was. And I just had like the flu pretty bad for like a day or two and it was gone. The reason I think it was that is because I was staying at my sister's place and apparently her kid was diagnosed with that. And then like a week or two later, I got the flu for a couple days. So I figured it was that. I just lost my train of thought. What was your question again?
I was asking you gotten sick at all over this past winter, because they're actually saying that, a huge, like almost everybody I know had this bad, like, what we thought was the flu over the winter. And a lot of them are saying now that that's how long it's actually really been here. That if you got that bad flu, there's a good chance you already had it and survived it.
Okay. Well, I know China has, I guess they named it based on the December 2019. So I assume that's when they pinpointed and named it. So yeah, it's probably been around. But what I was getting at, now that you said that, it reminded me, ever since then, since I had the flu that last time many years ago, and I don't know that this prevents it at all. Well, number one, I get flu shots every year, so I haven't gotten it since then. But the other thing is, right. The other thing is I've been using Emergency when I forget to take it a lot, but usually it's the little powder. I don't know if either of you know what it is. Yeah. It's this powdered, mix of vitamins and minerals. You just pour it into a little bit of water and drink it once a day.
It's going to help because it boosts your immune system.
Yeah, that's ever since that, I don't think I've gotten fully sick at all. I'll get once in a while, maybe a sore throat or something. But as I take that, I'll take it. Maybe I'll double up on it if I do get a symptom, and then it goes away within a day or two. So I think just doing that, like you said, boosts the immune system and has so far helped me to avoid getting sick. So I don't think I've been fully sick this past winter, I guess, was the really long way around to answer your question.
My concern is that we all need to be drinking, a lot of vitamin C, a lot of orange juice, because, we're all stuck inside. Scurvy is going to become a problem. I'm not serious.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. I actually made that similar joke to someone in Australia the other day. But yeah. And in fact, I'd say the amount I think in a packet of emergency is only 1,000 milligrams. Whereas when I hear, say, doctors on the radio talk about vitamin C helping, it's usually in much larger doses of like 5,000 milligrams a day. So, right. I mean, I could be taking more to prevent, but I mean, it seems to be working okay so far, just doing this once a day.
I mean, a lot of times when they talk about 5,000, that's not something that any human being is going to be able to take every single day. That's going to cause some stomach issues and some of their problems. You don't think a lot about vitamin C doing that, but it can cause stomach cramps at like high volumes.
Yeah.
So those are usually prescribed for people that have immunodisorders that have like that high level of milligrams that they intake.
Right.
And that'll be like courses over a period of time. They'll be like on high doses when they're like more, receptive to certain times of year and flus and stuff. But generally, I mean, 1,000 for a human being, your average person that doesn't generally have a lot of issues is perfect.
Now, I know you're talking before we went on the air about, going online or whatever and learning as much as you can. Did that happen in the hospital or beforehand?
I had started learning about it before I even knew I'd gone to the doctor in the first place, just because it was going on in the world. And I have an OCD problem with research. I just have to know about things. And I kind of wanted to prepare my family because when I got sick, my brother has his kids, every other weekend. So we had to make sure that they didn't come here. So they had to stay with their mother in Indiana. But yeah, we had to change our family composition. My brother's kids had to stay with their mom. Mine and my wife's kids have to stay with, her mom. And it's just kind of, to keep them safe and to keep everybody else safe. That's what we've had to do. And luckily, my wife and brother have not. They seem like they started to get a flu a little bit after I did, but that's about as far as it went for them. They're both, doing a lot better now. But, we had to get the kids. That was number one. Kids can't not be here with this is going on. They could be, God forbid, one of them, So that was a big change for us, too. So we've just been mitigating damage pretty much is what we've done. And my wife and I work for Amazon Flex. And as soon as they found out that I had it, my account got deactivated temporarily because they obviously don't want me delivering packages on routes and seeing people and touching their things.
Right.
Despite the fact that I'd already been doing this for at least a couple days. Right. And by the way, Amazon has yet to announce my case in Ohio.
Really?
As they've failed to do with cases in many other states as well, we're finding. And they even set up emergency funds for people like me and have yet to contact any of us to actually go through the all the claims we filed to actually give us this emergency money. So that's another whole problem with a lot of people. And this is happening for everybody. It's happening for all the first responders that have all these funds set up.
Yeah.
Anyone that is supposed to be covered when something happens, there's so much red tape that by the time I actually get assistance, I could be on the street or who knows where.
So you cannot actually get that assistance until they officially announce it?
See, they don't have to officially announce my case. Okay. All I had to do was contact them. They deactivate me to make sure I can't go take deliveries. And then I fill out all the files and claim paperwork, which has been done for a week and a half. And they've just been really slow as a company to actually respond to their employees, which is really sad considering, it's Amazon.
Yeah. They're supposed to be the big guys, like they employ 1 billion people, Oh,
yeah. And it was, the least we can do to extend this to our, self-employed people that deliver your personal packages. They acted like this was some big, kind gesture on their part. Right. And, you got Jeff Bezos every day talking about, hey, we have these funds, the public can donate if they want to and blah, 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 blah. And we're doing all these things for our employees. They're not. I can tell you now, they have yet to fully shut down and sanitize the warehouse that I worked out of. Wow. And there's a case of it also not happening in New York that's famous right now, that as of earlier today did a huge walkout with all their employees.
Oh yeah, I didn't read an article, but I did see a quick headline about the walkout.
Yeah, and that's trickling down to a lot of warehouses. Like the one I work at is a much smaller one in Ohio, but it's not the smallest one in Ohio, but it's one of the smaller ones. But I mean, if they can't even do that on our level to safeguard everyone that works there and the people who are getting the packages sent to them, then that's a whole other problem, man.
That reminded me, I actually wanted to ask you in the last podcast who you worked for, because you did say something about you and your wife had just gotten home from somewhere. Yeah. And you decided to go out and work. And that triggered in my brain, because I'm normally a web developer, but since I've been unemployed from that, at the advice of a friend who does this, I started doing like DoorDash and Grubhub deliveries. I do those
too. Yep. Yeah. I was
cool.
Instacart. Actually, Instacart let me go when they found out I was sick.
Oh, wow. They just straight up fired you?
They fired a huge amount of their employees just all of a sudden. And it's been coming out that more and more of us that were fired were either considered to be sick or some had even tested positive.
Wow.
And rather than make good with their emergency fund, they just laid a lot of us off. And I had just started working with DoorDash, so I didn't yet qualify for theirs, unfortunately.
I haven't been diagnosed with anything, so I wouldn't qualify for that anyway. But I was gonna say I'm not even aware of anything that like DoorDash or Grubhub is doing for employees if they get affected by it.
Yep, they both have the same thing that Amazon and Instacart is supposed to have, which is the employee relief fund. As long as you've been working with these companies for 30 days, and you, I think, completed 30 deliveries. A minimum working there 30 days, a minimum 30 deliveries completed. If you get the disease while you are employed by them, they will give you the equivalent of 2 weeks worth of pay.
Okay.
Yeah, they do. Both of those companies do have that. And I know Uber and Lyft and all of them have it too.
One thing that just happened here in Michigan, I don't know if this is just a state thing or if it's federal. The governor here initially, like a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week or two ago, raised the amount of weeks that you could claim on unemployment from 20, which is pretty low for any state, from 20 to 26, which is normal.
Yep.
And then today she upped it from 26 to 39. But there's a separate thing on top of that for people who don't normally qualify for unemployment, like gig workers, like, you know, DoorDash, Amazon Flex, all that stuff. They're able to claim another like 16 weeks. I don't know if it's another separate from the initial number or together, but
that's confusing because we have the same exact thing as you guys. We actually Ohio and Michigan and Indiana and I think Kentucky all work together to come up with this idea. And I know at least our 4 states do for a fact have that. The problem is they're saying people like, you know, us can't actually go and do it for another couple of weeks because that's when the system for us will actually be up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed I went online to unemployment and saw that they had actually raised mine up to 26, which was announced like a week or two ago, but I'm sure it'll take a while for them to raise it to the new number as well.
It impacts us a lot though, because like we do that as our day job. I'm also a full-time college student, but our big thing is we actually own a production company that does a lot of different audio and video work. And we were in the middle of creating this, you know, YouTube web series, rebranding it, and about to start doing our first short film for the festival circuits, and then found out that we can't do any of it now. So our whole company is pretty much shut down, and I'm having to find ways to keep that going, and with only 4 of us left in the company.
Are there any protections for people who are entrepreneurs like that? I'm not even aware if there are.
I mean, there are small business protections, but unfortunately you have to have a certain amount of people to qualify for that, and I'm so far below that.
Well, that's terrible, but I mean, hopefully the Amazon thing will clean up their act there and start helping out at some point.
I can say we found ways around certain things, and color blindness. Kyle and I am actually working on something that could be really huge for it's sort of like an indie drama horror project about the human condition. In these times that we've actually found a way. I've managed to figure out how we can do everything entirely remotely, including the camera work for the actors. So that's something that him and I are trying to revolutionize right now and put together. We're early planning, scripting phases right now, but I'm sure we'll be talking about that probably here in the near future.
Cool.
So there's ways to survive with any kind of, like media company. Even if you're video, you got to be creative. You got to find ways to go on, and you got to think outside the box, or you're done. Because in the days ahead, entertainment, that's the industry that's going to matter. That's what we're all flocking to now. I mean, Netflix, Hulu, they can't even handle the server loads right now.
Not exactly the same thing, but businesses that should by all means be out of business right now. Like, I'm sure you're familiar with some in your area, but in Michigan here, like some local breweries and that sort of thing, they quickly realized that they're not going to be able to keep, serving in their brewery every day. So they quickly switched over to manufacturing like a hand sanitizer and selling it, that sort of thing.
Some of them, there's this one brew, I forget the name of it. It also does like other like clothing items and stuff too. Like it's like this big company that are now switching over and using all their jean material to make new masks.
Oh, wow.
In Ohio. And they think we're going to be one of the largest producers of masks going forward. And because there's so many different like companies like that here in Ohio.
Well, that's cool.
And even our own car plants are being retrofitted for stuff like our GM plants around here.
Yeah, I know that GM was told to make a shitload of masks, or not masks, but ventilators at least.
Yeah, the ventilators. Yep.
And then I saw Elon Musk volunteered. He said, "Hey, if you guys need more masks, we'll make some too." So they said, "Yes, we need them." And so I don't know how many he made right away, like shipped out, 50 or 100,000, something like that. But everyone's switching to whatever they need to do.
And a lot of people are coming together and doing fantastic thing. Like I know in the Discord, like I'm in with a lot of people, the right. I do this thing every day where no matter how sick I am, I try and get in the voice chat, and I encourage people, hey, it's one thing that we all talk to, we all chat to each other. But if you guys aren't living with other people, you need to get in here. You need to talk in voice, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. The human contact, even with just voice, it's life changing. And there's a lot of narrators that are creating smaller channels that are private on Facebook just for their friends and family, where they can read to their friends and family every day. So there's been a lot of stuff like that where people have been coming together to help reduce anxiety and depression, because that's what's going to kill people more than this disease is the anxiety and depression of either having it, having a loved one that has it, being quarantined for who knows how much longer. And it's what we got to fight every day.
Speaking of that, I know someone who actually, I guess you could say she's a narrator. She switched away from narration and does something else with her channel now, but she is in England, and she has contacted me many times talking about how lonely it is being quarantined there. She hasn't been diagnosed with anything. She's just one of the masses, and everyone isn't allowed to leave their house other than to go to grocery stores, kind of like us. But she's contacted me many times saying, hey, it's so depressing and lonely here. I need people to talk to me, and this sucks. I live alone, blah, blah, blah. A few days after she started contacting me about that, I read an article. Some 19-year-old girl north of London committed suicide because she was so, I don't know, afraid or depressed or whatever from the isolation and everything. And it's just, I don't know, depressing just to hear that even. If
you look into the numbers right now, the amount of deaths from suicide are actually above what this disease has taken so far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, because I've seen yesterday, I think the worldwide number was up to 34,000 from the disease.
Yep. And combined world from suicide, the suicide rate is skyrocketed. And I'm someone that suffers from depression and other issues. So I've been trying to make it a point, I engage people I don't even normally talk to sometimes. I'm trying to do more voice chats, talking on the phone more to people. Just, there's only so much I can do being sick, but if there's anything I can do, I'm just going to go out and do it. From wherever I can, I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what made me want to start doing the live stream thing here. I know I had the idea to do a podcast on the narration channel before this whole thing started getting big, but yeah, this turned into more of like, hey, everyone's sitting around doing nothing. Why not just kind of hang out with people on air and try to get people on the chat to hang out as well? Maybe that'd be something to entertain a little bit. Mr. SH, you were in the live chat last week. So, and you're actually in the live stream today. We'll actually call you Scott, since that's your name, and it's easier to remember than Mr. SH.
Yeah, that's true.
And I know last week Ronnie was trying to figure out how to pronounce your name. He came up with Mr. Shh, which kind of goes with the whole horror writing thing. But yeah, I know you mentioned to me it's actually Mr. SH. So now we know.
I love that one that he did. It was a mystery. it was mystery or sandwich handler or something. I was laughing. I was actually dying at that.
Nice. Yeah, I remember him saying sandwich something, and that got me too. I had to hit the mute button. I was laughing so hard at it, but that was pretty good though. I know you yourself, you mentioned you have not been diagnosed with it, but you mentioned that you had some scares maybe with family members that you thought might be at risk or you're worried about. I guess before that, you're in Ireland. What's this whole thing like there, just living there right now? Is it?
It's a bit... it's a bit scary, to be honest. Yeah. But like when I'm looking at I was looking at some of the stuff before I came on today. I was looking. There was about 295 new cases and 8 dead, and I was like, oh god, it's starting to skyrocket now. It went from actually I have some of the stuff written down here. Yesterday there was 10 dead and 200 new cases.
Yeah.
So it's all skyrocketing now. And there was actually a case nearby me. I won't say where. But a hospital. There was a fellow that was after getting confirmed, and he was there for I don't know how long, but they didn't know until he got actually confirmed. So that there was nurses and doctors had to isolate themselves in the actual hospital themselves. But what was after happening was there was a shopping centre across the way, and they used to go over there for lunch. So everyone was starting to like panic, saying, "Oh God, what was in there at the same time as them?" and all that kind of stuff. And it was a bit. Everyone was like scared. Everyone was like avoiding the area, and they sent the confirmed case up to Dublin. I can't remember where they sent them, but they sent them up to Dublin, and there was no cases after that. So it was a bit, everyone was just worried.
It seems to be intensifying over here as well, at least from the articles I'm seeing. From the one thing I mentioned earlier, New York City. Apparently within, as I mentioned earlier, less than 7 hours, 98 people died from it. Now, of course, you can isolate numbers like that without giving much information, make it sound extremely scary, which it is. It's scary no matter what, but, without having all the details, we don't know. Maybe some of those people were 97 years old and had a heart issue, or who knows. I haven't studied it enough to know what actually contributes to it. But even here in I live in the state of Michigan, the numbers just over the past 2 days have kind of skyrocketed. Although the one thing that kind of keeps me in check to make me think things are not getting worse is that all along I've been listening to doctors say once the amount of testing goes up, you're going to see a lot more diagnosed cases, maybe more deaths, but the more cases, there are going to be a lot more diagnoses than there are going to be deaths, and the death rate is actually going to go down. It has actually gone down probably, I think, close to the flu right now, which is still we don't want people to die from the flu either, but it's a lot lower than what they originally thought. It had a 30 times higher death rate than the flu, but now it's getting closer to around the same, maybe even less.
I don't know how much they're preparing for you guys in Michigan, but here in Ohio, we get a press conference from our governor every single day of the week at 2 p.m. And they, along with the person in charge of the medical board here, Amy Acton, they tell us everything that's going on, every new case every day, what new measures they're taking, and they keep talking about this whole flattening the curve, but they're still saying in the near future, when we reach our peak, which now they don't think is going to be until like mid-May, we could be seeing up to 10,000 new cases a day by then.
Jesus.
Which is a lot, but they're saying keep in mind these cases, like you said, they already exist now, most of them. We just can't tell you about them because we can't officially test yet.
Right.
And they're talking about a lot of crazy things I've been hearing lately, like Ohio is dividing up into 8 different sections. I forget what they're calling it. There's a better, more technical term than sections.
Right.
But in these sections, each section has to come up with how they want to control the spread of infection and what they want to do. And I heard the words 3 times in the last 3 days, isolate the infected. And I don't know what that means. None of us know what that actually means. The press is asked, does that mean, people that are suspected to be infected or are infected are going to literally be put into other locations? And all they can say is, that's not what we're trying to do at this time. But then now they're talking about the National Guard being in town here soon and all this other stuff. So, and there's still 30% of our population in Ohio are still not going under advisement of social distancing. They're hanging out in parks. They're doing crazy shit. They're rioting in places here in Ohio still. Like UD just had a big riot, University of Dayton, right before they kicked them all out, which is normal. UD riots over spilled milk. They write over everything. I live down the street from them. I deal with it all the time. I can hear them screaming and beating property that doesn't belong to them literally every time their school's in session. But I'm serious. It's so ridiculous, dude. They actually had to gas them this time to get them to stop. And and the thing is, the UD is surrounded by like not good neighborhoods, like very poor neighborhoods.
Right.
So they're a lot of rich kids that are complaining because they have to go home and learn from home because they don't want to go to their parents. But they're coming into our neighborhoods, and none of us have a lot of money, and they're smashing our car windows and like screwing up our property. And it's like, dude, do this at home. Go to your mom's house. You break her shit.
Right. No sense in, punishing people that have nothing to do with your issue. I don't know why they do that.
Ohio is like party school central. There's a shit ton of party schools. Ohio State over Columbus is not any better. They're doing it too.
It's just the mentality that, it's not mine, so let me just break it. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not valuing property because they, come from a richer home where those things are just replaced.
Yeah.
And when they're a guest in someone's state, the mentality doesn't transfer. The one good thing that we have, which I think is good for you in Michigan, and I'm not sure how it is for you over in Ireland, but I know Michigan and Ohio aren't spring break states. So we didn't have to deal with all the extra morons, going crazy down in Florida and, all that stuff.
We don't really have any of that type of stuff anyway. We literally, some of the tourists I see, they just go to the pubs and stuff, go around the city centre and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
Nothing really destructive happens unless you're out at night on like a Saturday or Sunday night.
Gotcha.
Or any of the college nights, because there's some fighting, some drinking, and the odd time there's a few. In Ireland we call the police guards, and sometimes there's a couple of fights with them, and basically they all end up in prison or something, in jail.
Exactly like it is here. Gotcha. So we're lucky we at least all don't have these influx of out of towners coming in to party here and spread their diseases, and it's a good thing. I mean, we're not in a good situation, but it could be worse. We could be New York, we could be Florida, we could be somewhere where we actually want to be.
Right.
I'd rather be in Ireland than here, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's quiet. I was looking online. I can't remember exactly when, but I was looking. There was a case of spring break. And it was during this now, the coronavirus. Yep. And they're all like going around all that. They were just on the beach, like literally packed, like no one could move. And I found out afterwards that a lot of them tested positive for corona. Mm-hmm. So it's
it spread like crazy. And their college campuses, like a lot of the college campuses, like in Ohio anyway, they will help the students schedule their flights and stuff for spring break. Like they provide these services. I know all the colleges around here canceled them. And so a lot of the kids were sneaking off anyway and making their own plans separate and just driving down instead of flying is how they were getting around it.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And when the hotels stopped admitting them, they started just setting camp up on the beaches.
Okay.
Yeah, dead serious. That's what they were doing.
So I don't know if they just think that they're impervious to it, like they're not going to get it, or if it's just general stupidity. What do you think? I
mean, I'd like to say it's just young kids not understanding things, but that's clearly not true, because you can look around anywhere, churches with, older people that should know better. We have a very famous church in Ohio. Uh-huh. It's known because of the whole Big Butter Jesus song that got really famous by a comedian. It's got this giant Jesus statue that was standing outside with its arms spread far apart, and it caught on fire and burnt to the ground. Well, they rebuilt the thing, and it's this huge super church. And they're all over the news, all over again, with their giant hands-out Jesus statue, which we now either refer to as $5 footlong Jesus, touchdown Jesus, or I caught a fish, this big Jesus. Because his hands are literally like out like that.
Right.
And I mean, we jest. I mean, we're not making fun of religions. We tease each other. I got friends that attend that church. But that's one of the ones in our area that's famous right now because they're claiming they're, important services, so they shouldn't have to close, but they're being mandated to close. So these are grown adults doing this. So I can't really say it's an age factor. I think it's people don't want to be alone. They're terrified, and they are doing everything they can to hold on to the human contact. I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's fear.
Maybe. Yeah, I was just actually talking to a couple friends before we went on the stream here. I was in my backyard with some of my roommates. We're gathered around like a bonfire, and a couple of them were telling me some of their friends who are graduating high school now are losing their graduation. Like the end of the school year is being called, so they're not going to go back to school until, I don't know if they go to college or whatever. So they're missing out on the whole end of the year, the whole graduation and all the partying that goes along with it and everything. So maybe that kind of relates to the college, spring break thing too. Like they don't want to miss out on it. And because they're young, maybe they don't know any better, but they're willing to risk whatever comes with it in order to make sure they don't miss out.
Right. And I think that's more of a, hey, I accomplished this huge thing by going through 12, 13 years of school, including kindergarten or whatever. And like this party, that's what lets me know that I'm graduating. That's my milestone. It's not the diploma. It's not this. It's getting to like say bye to all my friends, that are going off to other places, that are going off to maybe other parts of the world that you might not even see again. So let's be honest. How many of your friends do you honestly really see after high school? That dwindles as you get older. And I think that's more of a rite of passage that is a shock to people. Like, my youngest, her sweet 16 was right in the middle of all this. We had to cancel it. That was she was devastated, but it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
And it's just all these things that people have gotten to do before them that they've seen movies about. They've heard stories about their older friends, all these things, these milestones that are so important and celebrated. They don't get that because of this happening. They don't get that. And sure, I mean, it's an entitlement sort of thing as far as everyone else got that. Why don't I get it? But it's also, it's kind of sad, I think, from their perspective to realize that all these things we had that some of us may or may not have taken for granted, these kids don't even get. It's just, oh, sorry, we're all diseased now. Oops.
Don't know really what to say past that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
I can relate, I'm 18 and I'm doing my over here, whereas you have I think some states have SATs.
Yeah.
We have something called Leaving Cert. We have instead of high school, it's secondary school. First 3 years, it's the junior cycle, which would be called the Junior Cert, which is not. It's just it's preparing you for the Leaving Cert.
Right.
And then we have the senior cycle, which is the 4 years. Well, the last 3 years, but the fourth year is optional, so it could be 2 years depending.
Yeah.
But I found out that I was supposed to have like these oral exams, my Irish exams and my French exams. And we were told that they were cancelled, like, how long ago? 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we were told, if we can't do it, it's cancelled. Y'all got 100%.
Yep.
So I was laughing as I was like, Jesus. They cancelled them,
Same thing here
but still gives 100%.
Yeah, all the state testing here in our country is also completely, it's done for the year. Everyone just passed. They are rushing people that are right now sophomores and juniors. They're providing programs in the United States to help you graduate early to get you into the workforce as quick as they can get you in. Colleges are also removing heavy requirements. Like I'm in a creative writing degree, my associates, before I move on to an actual university. And I was just told, all those extra science and math requirements that you had to have, that you would have had to actually do your whole 2 years to do. Yeah, you don't have to do almost any of that anymore. So you're going to graduate a semester early come this summer. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Wow.
I didn't want to take, I'm good at math. I like math, but I didn't really want to take them because I've taken them in 2 other colleges already, and I'm creatively writing, which does not require math, I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're lifting restrictions for colleges and, regular schools all across the world right now. They want to get us, moved on. They want to get us into where we're trying to go so we can be a better service, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a big mess because they don't know what to do. They're not prepared. No one's prepared. I mean,
right.
That is true. Over here, the Leaving Cert, they cancelled the Junior Cert because obviously it's not important. It is important to them, but it's just like training them for when Leaving Cert happens. But the Leaving Cert, they don't know what's going on. We were literally just told that we're unsure if it's going ahead. Your oral exams are cancelled, but we're not sure. It might get cut into the summer months, like in autumn. I'm trying to think of when. We have like 3 months between our actual exams and college, like the summer breaks.
Right.
But they said they'd be cutting into that, so it could be a month into the summer breaks. So we're still in the dark about it. We have no idea what's going on. It's a bit, everything's hectic at the moment.
It is. And all these people that got sent home from universities, the schools are now having to refund large amounts of money to all these kids. And that's creating instability right there in education, which is already in a lot of countries, especially America, education is very touchy and fragile as it is. That's a whole other economic issue.
Yeah, I guess gone are the days of hearing about a sickness or a virus going around and feeling safe about it because it's on the other side of the planet. It quickly took over the entire planet. So, like, where do we go now? Time to go to Mars and hopefully it doesn't follow us there. I mean, what do we do at this point?
And
Let's just hope Elon gets the SpaceX up and running.
Right.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, we need you.
At least one of those people are going to be infected too. And then, all of fucking Mars is infected.
Yeah. All of a sudden Mars is dead too.
Before I would have said I'd go deep in the tundras of Canada and, let the cold freeze it out. But it's clearly doing just fine in the cold. So there goes that option.
Right. Maybe we have to turn up the temperature. Maybe that's the thing. Move to Venus.
They keep saying, oh, when it gets warmer. But what about all these countries where it's really warm? And
right.
Still, I don't understand why America's thinking that once it's getting warmer, like our president's like, oh, by Easter, we're going to be fine. We're cool. Easter.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, maybe not Easter. Maybe not until May. When in Ohio, we're being told June, July.
Well, I think even taking, so let's say the president is taking, advice from, what's his name, Dr. Fauci, the main guy kind of in charge of the task force. Even when he's relaying what he gets from that guy, even he is not going to know exactly when it's going to end. All he can do is judge by his experience in the past. Right. So, I mean, you never know. This is different than any other strain, so it might not adhere to any rules that he's used to.
A lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, it's scary not knowing how long things are going to last.
As long as we don't hear the two words on the state level or federal level that we're all terrified of right now, which is martial law, I think we might. Because that's what people are most terrified of right now, I think.
Obviously, not everyone could handle themselves in a situation like that. Right. But I don't know, some people might actually welcome it. Hey, I can finally leave and go do what I want to do. I don't have to listen to the law anymore,
Yeah. I mean, there's actually some good aspects of this that I don't think a lot of people are considering yet. I don't think people have been able to shift this way in thinking. I'm just odd. So I think about a lot of different things, but there's a lot of new laws we've been enacting that for the future of our world is actually intelligent and brilliant. We have all these new sunshine laws and all these new provisions being added that says government doesn't have to meet in buildings anymore. They can literally do it virtually as long as people, from the public are allowed to view it. All big businesses, you don't have to have corporate boardroom meetings anymore. You can do all your business in video chats. So we're doing all this like revolutionary things that we've been talking about, and movies promised us that we'd have like starting in the year 2000 that we just never quite got to. And now we're actually seeing all these technologies that were here, but they weren't as well, used, blowing up. Like, example, there's that famous movie / book was better, Ready Player One. And this is something my brother and I have been talking a lot about. They just developed at the end of last year the new version of the VR that doesn't require the computer but can do all the same things that the good version does. It's completely self-sustained software. Well, over the last 5 years, the medical industry has been creating extremely responsive haptic gloves and suits to help train surgeons virtually because they were finding that surgeons were not getting enough actual surgeon practice, like actual operating practice and surgery practice before they got out into the field. So the number of deaths from, first-time surgeons were, increasing rapidly. So we now have literally all the technology that they had to create the Oasis in that book / film.
Yeah.
And now movie theaters are saying, sorry, we can't exist right now. So all your movies, like right now, Amazon just opened up their Amazon Cinema section of their site where they're getting like Invisible Man and all this now, where you can just watch it with your friends and family at home. So we're starting to now transfer more of our media to online streaming services. Gaming is bigger now. They're seeing up, higher numbers on Steam. There is this newer service I actually just read about recently. I got the name of it right here somewhere. It is called Crap. It's called Crap. Epic Games.
That's the best name ever. Oh.
Yeah. It's called Epic Games. It's been around since like 2018, but everybody's like, we got Steam. We don't really care. Well, they started last year releasing free games once in a while, but now they release 3 to 4 decent games every 2 weeks. Right now, it's World War Z is one of the ones you can get for free, and it's free for life. So you've got them and Steam now competing, and they're all releasing free games to keep people amused while they're at home.
Right.
All the streaming services like, oh yeah, we have a 7-day trial, but now it's a 30-day trial.
Yeah.
Wrestling, oddly enough, WWE. they have their whole WWE Network thing. And if you're not a subscriber, you can now get all their shows and all their back pay-per-views for free. But you still have to subscribe to get their like WrestleMania and stuff.
Right.
So you've got all these things that are extending all these services, and all these new services just showing up. So now we thought we were a streaming world before. No, now we're becoming a streaming world.
Yeah.
And I know Netflix bought out Watch Together, which before had issues if both people didn't own Netflix, or if you lived in separate countries watching Netflix.
Yeah.
There were problems, and they've dumped money into that. So now you can literally watch anything you want on your Netflix with anyone anywhere else in the world.
That's cool. I didn't know about that yet.
Yeah. So there's all these other emerging things that had already existed that people are dumping money into now because they're important. So I think the future is going to be, even when we get past that, our future is going to be 10 times more digital. GameStop is closing.
Oh, really?
They are closing 300 and some stores, and they just released information that in light of everything, they're probably going to have to shut down because it's already been stated that PlayStation, pretty much everyone, they're going to stop the creation of physical discs. It's a whole another movement in the gaming world that's happening because of all this.
Is there no room for GameStop in the digital world?
No. I mean, you've got companies like CD Keys, Green Man Gaming, where you can go and buy a used, a game key from someone. Even there's even kind of a trading key thing that they have on Steam, but it makes so little money that even with all like the merchandise GameStop has had to start selling over the years to make ends meet, it's not enough.
Yeah.
The best they could do, honestly, is use gaming systems. But if you literally go and look right now at GameStop's cheapest, like say PS4 with one controller and no games, $250. Look at the same thing on Amazon used, 2 controllers, 2 or 3 video games plus the system, $200. I mean, are you going to keep going to GameStop?
Right.
So there is literally, it's to the point where it's not just GameStop. You got to think there's a lot of used video game, there's a lot of used film stores too, and CD stores. They're going to follow. If GameStop falls, which is the biggest of all of them, then they're all going to go. Like we have a hugely famous one in Ohio called Second Time Around that's known worldwide. They're already talking about closing their doors, and they've been around since like the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, I've always thought a place like GameStop, I wasn't really sure how they still had the market to have a physical store anyway, because I thought most people just streamed games anyway now. But
merchandise, that's it. Funko Pops. I mean, you can sell everything. You can even get prefabbed Loot Crate boxes there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, you can literally get anything there. Plus, your controller breaks. You don't want to wait now 24 hours or less if you've got Prime to get your controller. You can just drive down the street and get that. But if no one can go out anyway, and we're all going to start getting used to not going out as much the way it's looking, that mindset of I can just go down the street and get this it's already dying. Yeah. It's already going away.
On the other side, to go into the future with that, whenever certain things become unavailable, they turn into nostalgia, and suddenly people want them again.
Exactly.
like with VHS tapes. I think I read that the last VHS VCR machine was manufactured in 2015 or something like that. And right after that, because the machines were no longer made, at least I think that's why it is, people started collecting VHS tapes a lot more than they ever had. Like there are huge communities of horror VHS tape collectors out there now that are trying to make a comeback. And there are even places, what's that Texas-based indie film theater? They have locations around the country now.
Oh, I know. I can't think of the name of it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't think of the freaking name.
Right. Yeah, it just slipped my mind. But anyway, I think they were opening, I don't know if it'll be inside of their theater buildings or separate, but they're opening like pop-up VHS stores where they actually rent out the players with the tapes now. Yeah.
Well, this has happened before. It happened when Beta went to the wayside. It happened when Laserdisc went to the wayside. And then we had, before Blu-ray, we had HD discs. So few people even remember the fact that HD exists because it was HD and Blu-ray at the same time, but Disney and Fox and the important people all backed Blu-ray, and PlayStation was the first actually to back Blu-ray.
Oh.
Yeah, and PlayStation was keyly instrumental at first for Blu-ray winning out over HD. So like we keep losing these technologies, and we lose them. Everybody wants them. I know people that still go around trying to find and collect old reel-to-reel machines for radio and cart machines. Like that's 8-track players even. I mean that's still.
This guy's a little more extreme than your normal person that would do that probably. But there is a guy, I haven't looked at his account lately, but his channel, but there's a YouTuber, forget what he calls himself, but his whole thing is ancient technology, or any technology that no longer is made, like anything from the early 1900s up till 3 years ago. That's what every one of his videos is about. Yeah, it's got a corner, and it's, sometimes it gets extremely popular.
I got a friend whose system ever made, down to Commodore 64, Pong, Apple Tandy. I mean, he's got every system ever.
Right.
And he displays it in his Meteor, and he still plays all of those systems, like constantly. It's amazing. But you're right. I mean, old collectors are going to want things like that. But unfortunately, collectors, they're few and far between. Like, it's a very small percentage of people that want those older things. And on the internet, there's way better ways and easier ways to get that now.
True. You have to kind of wonder where that heads if everything turns to all internet, all digital. Like, where do the entrepreneurs go? The people who want to open their own stores? Does that all, is that all confined to hoping to make a dent in the Amazon marketplace now? I mean, where does that go?
There's a lot of places you can do that now. And there's so many store shops. Like Shopify is now exploding to the point where you can throw a rock anywhere on Reddit and find about 100 people that you can pay $30 to set you up the most amazing Shopify site you've ever had. Like, and have like hundreds of projects, different products offered to you. There's drop shipping where I can literally start a company, throw a storefront up and say, hey, you want 20 copies of Spider-Man 3 from back in the day? You know what? Give me your money. I take your money. For pennies on that dollar, I go buy all those copies and have the company I bought them from ship it to you, and I keep all your money.
Right, third party.
Yeah, there's so much of that too. eBay's still as big as ever. It's not going. None of these shops are going to change, but they're going to go digital. One, low overhead. No one has money to have a storefront or can even open a shop. Right, it's cheaper to do it from home. You got a garage, basement, an extra room. Your mom and dad's basement, garage, whatever. You can have a business. It's easier to have a business now. And there's all these other pop-up companies, like the subscription bot companies. They pop up every day. There's a new one every day. There's like 30 different ones that are just about beef jerky right now. That's serious. They make the beef jerky in their homes in the dehydrators, and they ship it out to your door. Like, everything has like 50 different subscription boxes for it.
At one time, I was kind of joking around, although this would probably be a good idea, and maybe someone has already tried it, but most of those subscription box ideas that revolve around food all talk about how healthy the food is.
Right.
What if you just want a junk food box? Do they? Okay.
One of the most famous one is it's called the candy box. Like, if you go to Groupon right now, they've got it on sale for $5. Wow. And you get like these jars like full of all kinds of different candy. And then they've got like the classic ones. They're like candies from your youth, like Cow Tails and like old package nerds, like crazy shit.
Yeah.
So they've got a lot of stuff like that too. It's amazing what they keep coming out with. Like, even the horror community has a huge different collection of different companies doing this, right down to actual screen use props.
Huh.
So these are also new businesses over the last few years that are now, especially now, just getting bigger.
Right.
So we've kind of solved commerce on accident.
So where were you talking, Scott?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was on YouTube before. I got recommended something, since you're on about like all the fruit, all the collection and stuff.
Yeah.
I was on YouTube, and it got recommended. I don't know how. It was a fella buying and eating like old army like rations and all that. Like, the stuff would be from the World War II, World War One, or anything before that, and the stuff looks disgusting. But he ends up saying it's good. I'm like, how? Unless it's like not refrigerated, frozen or something. I'm like, how? I don't know. And just like,
it's crazy stuff. I've got doomsday prepper food because this guy just gave a bunch of it away like last summer. I've got like a ton of it out in my garage just in case things go bad.
Is it in buckets or backpacks, or what is it?
So some of it's in buckets and some of it's in boxes. Because you'll get the ones that are in buckets. They're just like the mix of like, I think it's beef stroganoff. You just get it measured out of the bucket and you throw the water in it and you make your soup. But then there's actual small boxes that are like breakfast foods and like breakfast burritos and weird stuff. which I don't know how that works yet because I'm not opened up any of these packages yet. I'm not quite sure.
Right.
I might have to do like an unboxing with Prepper Food here in the near future or something.
That'd be cool. The last time I tried anything like that, I went with my uncle to Kennedy Space Center. It was actually way back before the last shuttle blew up. Go figure. And I was wanting to try like, astronaut food or whatever.
Did you get the ice cream or the pizza?
Yeah, I definitely didn't get the pizza. I think I got the ice cream, but I can't remember whether. I'm sure I tried it. I just can't remember what it tasted like or whether I liked it or not.
The ice cream's not too bad once you start eating it. It's a little weird. The texture is kind of but it doesn't taste bad. The pizzas, though, there's cheese and pepperoni that are widely available, and neither of those are anything. It's like really hard cardboard is what it tastes and feels like in your mouth. It's disgusting. Just get yourself a big thing of Tang and relive the space days that way, because at least that tastes good.
Get an old like NASA Halloween costume from the 80s or something, put it on with the Tang and everything.
Your little mug of Tang, It's gonna be a NASA mug too. You gotta get the ones that actually say NASA on it. That way you feel accomplished in life.
Yeah, or the right stuff from that movie.
Yeah, but then you're going to have to listen to New Kids on the Block, and it's a whole thing. And I don't think we want to go that far in our past.
Yeah, you got to start explaining to people, and that just gets hairy.
Yeah. But someone actually brought up a very interesting point to me the other day when they were talking about, businesses that are considered essential. There's a big post on Facebook, and it started as a joke, but then people started conversating about it. I'm not going to go too in detail here because it's kind of NSFW, but adult entertainment shops, let's just call it that to be more PC about it. And they're wondering now, is that an essential service? And I don't want to get too much, again, into the NSFW side of things, but it kind of makes me think maybe it is. Yeah. Like I would never have in my life have considered that to be an essential part of the human condition. I
mean, it's obviously not an essential part of keeping yourself alive, but it is like the most searched or second most searched at the worst thing in the world. So
it is integral to keeping you alive, considering you're by yourself, considering depression. Right. That's what a lot of people are making the case where it's, they've got like the realistic dolls or whatever. I mean, that simulates human skin and human touch. Sure. Are those kind of things going to be more widely acceptable now in our society because, of the situation going forward? I just thought that was like an interesting thing that I don't think in a million years I would have ever thought to consider. And I just happened to see it earlier today and I was like, wow, that's kind of philosophically an odd position to be in.
And you're probably right, just based upon what I was saying about it being usually it's the most searched thing on the planet. So it's what most people want most of the time. Yep. So if you suddenly remove the most desired thing in the world from everybody, what's that going to leave? We've
already removed alcohol sales from Ohio, so people have to do something. They're done. Yeah, no more alcohol in Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah,
maybe you need an Al Capone to start bringing stuff in.
Oh, people are already talking about speakeasies like that's in the Dayton subreddit. I've been seeing some stuff lately.
Prohibition's starting up again.
They're talking about decorating it in like the plastic bubbles you can run around in, so everybody can just run around with their shot glasses and just kind of tumble around.
Everyone in the bubble.
Field. What if that's how we had to interact with society to go outside, just to wear to be Bubble Boy from now on? I think John Travolta would be like super excited about this.
More like it would.
Well, you have to do the whole bubble transfer at that point to sell it. Make sure you don't get infected while switching to another bubble.
Yeah, that would be a whole complicated thing. I'm sure somebody would figure it out for money.
We could all go around hazmat suits at this point.
Yeah, we could. Did you look up Jake Gyllenhaal, or did you see that Kyra posted the name in the chat?
Oh, I just now realized I could hit live comments. I didn't know that this whole time.
Yeah, I'm looking at them directly on the YouTube page.
Okay. I can see it. No, I looked up IMDb real quick. That's what I.
Oh, okay.
But thank you very much for putting that in there. And now that I'm not going to be a moron, I can look at chat.
Right. Yeah, you can actually post in there. Although that means you'll probably not pay attention to what we're saying for a minute, but we're all doing that, so it's all right.
They can hear me. It's cool.
Yeah.
As far as what people don't know, the neurological side of things.
Yeah.
Look this up, guys, because Italy's just, they're the ones discovering a lot of the neurological side of things. Their country knows more about it than we do. Like I said earlier, when I was in the hospital asking these questions, it's, I don't know, go home and be comfortable. From what I'm gathering so far and from what I'm experiencing, that's bouts of confusion, early onset. That is forgetting things. Like I've been forgetting simple words all day. Yeah. Like the last couple of days, like words I use every day. So it's you got that to kind of, be a little bit concerned of. The next stage beyond that are, there are types of nerve damage you can get where, you won't feel hot, cold. You might not feel as much exterior pain. I already suffered from those anyway, so I could not tell you if I had them. I don't know.
Right.
After that, there are stages that can affect your heart. There's all these different aspects of it that we don't know. And I thought I would be freaking myself out to think, what if all this happens to me? But at the same time, hell, for all I know, in 2 or 3 days, I'm going to be the most healthy person on the planet. And as long as we just read what's out there, take it with a grain of salt, interact with the people we can interact with, stay, not just physically, but mentally healthy, and just be there for each other. I mean, what else can we do with that? And that's going to be how everybody gets through this, is if we all just realize, hey, we're all human beings. We're all worthy of compassion. Let's just pull together a little while. I mean, even, whether it's the next week, the next month, however long it takes, just if you see somebody in need, you see somebody down that needs a hand, just do what you can.
Our formerly huge world has suddenly become extremely small with this. So anything you can do for anybody definitely helps. Somebody
actually delivered 5 pizzas to my door today.
You don't know who it is?
I found out who it was on Reddit later. It was somebody in my area. And, we talk a lot to each other in the Dayton subreddit and a lot in the Dayton groups. I'm not afraid to say that, hey, I live in Dayton, Ohio. If you want to look me up, please. I really don't have anything, but you're welcome to.
Well, I don't think you're putting your full real name out here anyway, so I don't know. Unless you put that elsewhere.
Oh, no, but if you look up Rasty Slasher, which I'm very vocal, that's who I am. I mean, my real name's connected to all that. I'm not worried about being doxxed or anything insane like that. I'm just not worried about it, man. I'm old. I don't care. I don't care.
You're like, I live here, so what?
Yeah, if you can find me, come. I can cough on you if you want to stop by. I don't know what else I can do for you, but a lot of us talk, and it's like, hey, we know you're in this bad situation, and I will never ask anybody of anything. I'm always the person that is giving things to people and helping people. So I get a knock at the door, and it's Domino's, and there's just 5 pizzas sitting there. Just 5 pizzas. The guy's already in the car driving away. I'm like, where do these 5 large pizzas? There's only like 4 people in this house. Why is there 5 pizzas? And suddenly I get a message on Reddit saying, hey, I thought you guys might want some pizza today. I'm like, oh. And then another friend gets a hold of me that works for another pizza company, that actually works for a pizza company, and says, oh, by the way, I'm going to send pizza to you on Friday. And I'm like, I guess my life is eating pizza now. And it could be worse. That's just small little things that you can do to change someone's outlook, each day. I mean, it doesn't have to be pizza. It could be anything, man. Like, just do nice shit for each other.
Anything else, Scott? Any last words from you? For the podcast, not for your life. Just for the
podcast. He was a quiet boy.
Yeah. That's why I'm just nervous.
Right.
Now that obviously everyone's a load of people are going into isolation, all that. As the writers for like Reddit or anything like that, any like creative types, what do you think that this could help with the isolation, in your opinions?
Oh, I can tell you at No Sleep, there is a new rule, a complete moratorium on anything disease related.
I saw that.
Yeah, there's a big point of contention in the community because some people feel like that's a breach of freedom of speech. And while most people just feel like, hey, we're already seeing that in the world everywhere, it's kind of actually nice to come to this place where we don't have to have that in our face every 5 seconds. So it's created this weird rift where people are starting to go to other places. Like some of us are going to Stay Awake Forum to, post things there. People are going to, a lot of the other subs to maybe do these kind of things. But it's definitely a division. There's an increase of writers, but less people reading stories right now. No one's really understanding that right now. And then there's also the same kind of issue on the narrator side where narrators are still putting out, podcasters are still putting out, but for some reason they're also kind of going down a little bit in numbers. So I think it's that people are paying so much attention to what's going on and they're so stressed that they're not able to get that relaxation, that time off, that brain shutdown they need to enjoy these things because they're worried about what's going on in their lives, how they're going to eat, how they're going to pay a bill. And I think in the next week, we'll see a huge switch the other way, whereas those numbers are just going to start exploding like outwardly in a positive way.
I see some that, and maybe it's actually me just paying more attention to my subscriptions, but I see some narrators that seem like they're putting out a lot more, but that could just be me paying more attention to it.
More content's definitely going out. It's just the subscriber level is a little
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I got to admit, I'm a little jealous of some of those that are putting things out literally every day, because it's not necessarily the truth, but it tells me there are a decent number of people actually making enough money from ad revenue and such by doing this that they can supposedly support themselves doing this, which I'm all for.
Yeah, it's doable in this market, and I think in the next couple of weeks that's going to be a lot more doable. Even game streamers, they're the new athletes, man. Really?
All these esports and stuff.
Yeah, esports is where it's at. XFL just canceled their whole season.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's back in the day. We had the Extreme Football that Vince McMahon from WWE owned. They just brought it back. They just got all their licensing, all their everything. All their teams are all ready to go, and they've now canceled their whole season for the year. And other sports teams are doing the same.
Yeah, I'm guessing Vince McMahon is banging his head against the wall, because I do. I used to watch like WWE and WWF and all that. I think I quit because at some point I got preoccupied with a job or something, and just it kind of slipped out of my mind. So I don't watch it anymore. But yeah, I think it's gotta suck to be Vince McMahon. He tried it once and had to close it up because it didn't make enough money or whatever. So he tries one more time many years later, and it gets canceled by a virus. So he has to close it again.
I know, and it's crazy because WrestleMania is screwed right now too, because all these people paid all this money, and it's either Vince has to pay every person back, or he has to show that he's doing everything he can, so insurance will kick in. So all the shows now, no one in house. It's just completely everything's pre-recorded. WrestleMania is being pre-recorded for the first time ever. There have always been elements of it that were pre-recorded, but the entire show is being re-recorded. And now half the stars that were going to be there, almost half of them, have now quit and backed out because, like Roman Reigns, he just got done dealing with his leukemia. His leukemia came back, and he's one of the top people over there. He can't possibly be around anyone that can be infected. His immune system is not good. And so all these wrestlers are backing out. So now we don't even know what the state of WrestleMania is going to be, which means wrestling going forward is also probably going to go by the wayside for now, just like all the other sports.
I mean, unless they can find a way to make it work with the few people they have that can do those enclosed shows.
Yeah. And I think you're going to see a lot of people like climbing the ranks from other federations to, fill the ranks probably. But even that, it's not going to be the same because they rely on, their house shows for a lot of the money for the company.
Right.
You cannot translate the fact that someone is drinking, watching this wrestler, stumbles out in the hallway for another beer and buys 5 t-shirts.
Yeah.
We can't replace that money because it's not the same when you're watching it online or on your computer. You're not going to go to the fridge and get a beer and think, oh, well, I need to go sit down and buy t-shirts, because you're not looking at them. It's a switch for them too, man. It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward.
Yeah, the merchandise is a big part of not only that, but pretty much I think most live stuff. Like even a lot of musicians these days, because you barely make any money as a musician, even if you're a national act. I'll say you barely make any money from your recorded material these days, because most of it goes through like Spotify and such, where you get paid basically dirt for your plays. So no musician could survive off of just, digital streams. They make all their money off of playing live shows and selling merchandise more than anything. So you got to find new ways around that for everything, apparently.
And you got Elton John now that's about to do this huge stay-at-home concert where he's just free concert. A bunch of other bands are about to do all these free concerts right now just for people staying at home, which is great. It's great and awesome that they can do this. But honestly, 3/4 of the music world, bands that people love, can't afford to do that. They're just gonna, have to return to some kind of life before they, had all these things, which is not easy to do.
And right now, for the time being, they can't even do that because no one has a place to work. Everything's closed.
Yeah, exactly. Even a lot of the internet home positions are closed down too, believe it or not. My brother does tech support for a famous company whose name I'm not allowed to mention, and they closed their doors. No more tech support from this particular electronic company, because they still have to have managers on site somewhere. And because they can't do that, and their managers can't work from home in certain environments, their whole tech divisions are just gone. They're just shut down. And it's not, go ahead and get unemployment. It's, no, you're still on our payroll. We just can't pay you, and we don't know when or if we will again.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
You're still technically an employee that's technically earning money. You're just not receiving it. So therefore you can't get the unemployment pay.
Right. So that's the holding pattern for a lot of tech companies right now too.
Well, the funny thing, I think you said that's like a work at home position.
Yeah. He works at home, like 5 days a week.
Okay.
10 hours a day, 5 hours a week is what he does. And it's just nothing.
I always wished as a web developer I could just work from home, but pretty much no company I've ever worked for has ever trusted employees enough, apparently, to let them work from home.
I know. Yeah. And the best you guys can do is go to the slave labor subreddit. Have you checked that out at all?
No, I haven't.
So I haven't seen that.
It's labor, LABOUR. You can go there and you'll get paid $5 to do something that if you did normally in your job would pay you probably $75 to $100. It's insulting, but it's to the point where people are desperate. And people are like they're posting interesting things. Sometimes it's like, oh, I need a voice actor from this country. Around Valentine's Day, it was if you'll go and take a picture of a famous landmark in your city, wherever you live, and put, Happy Valentine's Day and put someone's name on it, will give you $5. I mean, it's all these weird micro tasks that,
yeah.
And unfortunately, like now though, in the last week, it's all shifting to a lot of it is web development stuff. Like a lot of it is web development based stuff, but you're so underpaid by the time you did it. I mean, it's crazy. It's better than nothing if you need to eat, or you need gas in your car or something. It's helpful. But they're getting weirder, and there's starting to be some NSFW stuff on there that I read some stuff today that blew my mind. I won't get into, but they're getting a little lax on the moderation over there is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
They need to tighten that up a little bit, but
yeah.
there's a lot of little sites like that, Hire Me, Slave Labor, that are just built on just micro tasks for people that just work in tech industries or different industries that just can't work because their companies are shut down.
Well, that makes me think of Fiverr.com, if you're familiar with that.
Imagine Fiverr, but you really can't advertise any premium services. So everything's just unbelievably ungodly cheap. Like, say you had to make a very professional logo for someone from scratch. That's $5. Whereas on Fiverr, you've got, here's the basic model for $5, but if you want the business model, that's like $100. Or, no, it's just all $5. Or $10 if someone's generous, or something like that. It's that they're pushing that economy is like blowing up right now too. Like those little micro task subs are they're insane, man. I
certainly hope that doesn't become the norm. If it does, no one's going to be able to live in a house anymore. We're all going to live in tents on the street, I think.
More than likely, if it is like that. Oh, God.
Thanks to you guys who came in the chat this time. That was awesome. Thank you very much. So we don't have to look at an empty chat. That would just be depressing. From me, Michael, with Channel X, from Mr. SH, or Mr. Shh, if you prefer, and from ItSeesYou. You know what? I'll let you guys say goodbye.
I would say a couple things. One, good fight, good night. I'm trying to think of all the great shows that have signed off. I kind of feel like I want to go into Jerry's thoughts, but I know we don't have time for that. So let's just say, let's just end with some Bill and Ted. Be excellent to each other.
There you go.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Anyone who isn't subscribed to Channel X, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Kill you.
Yeah. Oh, and also I believe in the description I put links to both Mr. SH and ItSeesYou, so you can go to their Reddit pages and check them out. And if you guys have any other social media you'd want me to link to, let me know after we're done here, and I'll put that in the description as well. But yeah, to echo Scott, thanks for saying that. If you have not subscribed to Channel X here, please do. Please help me get my subscriber count up so we can keep doing these streams and podcasts and lovely, I call them lovely because I'm doing them, of course, narrations. But I guess we will all talk to you next time. Have a good night.